Good evening and welcome to the Cabinet meeting. It is now 7 p.m. and I would like to start this meeting. I'm Councillor Lynn Worrell. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. Item 1, apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillor John Kent, Councillor Hooper and Ashley Baldwin. Carly, have we had any further apologies? No. Okay, thank you. Item 2, I move the minutes of the Cabinet meeting of the 21st of January 2026 to be approved as a correct record. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes?
No, approved.
No. Are we happy to approve them?
Approved.
Okay, thank you everybody. Urgent items of business. I have not agreed to any urgent items tonight. Declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest tonight? No. Statements from the leader. I do have a statement tonight that I'd like to read out. So the statement is on the selective licensing announcement. We are pleased to announce that the High Court judge has decided to refuse permission for the judicial review of the Council's selective licensing policy to proceed. The judge also decided that the Council can recommence its implementation of the scheme, and we will be in contact with landlords about this when this will take place, including any new deadlines. We were confident that the High Court would agree with the Council's legal position, and we are just sorry that the claim has led unnecessarily to a lengthy period of uncertainty for landlords and tenants. We are pleased to be able to move forward with this important scheme that will make a real difference to tenants, encourage good landlords and improve the lives of people living close to private rented properties. I'd like to thank officers for the work that they did on that piece of work. Thank you. So moving on, briefings on policy, budget and other issues. I have none. Petitions submitted by members of the public. I've had no petitions submitted tonight. Item 8, questions from non-executive members. I have one question submitted from Councillor Rigby. On agenda item 18, Appendix 2 for portfolio for resources. Agenda 20, and then again for agenda 20 for the portfolio of children's services, education and community safety. Should we take those as we get to the... Are you okay for that? Okay, thank you. Item 9. Matters referred to Cabinet for consideration by an overview and scrutiny. I am not aware of any matters referred to the Cabinet for consideration by an overview and scrutiny committee, save the 5 briefing notes that are in the front of the agenda tonight. 4 of these relate to items on the agenda tonight, therefore they will be considered when the substantive items are heard, but I trust that you've all read them before we come to the meeting tonight. Thank you, so we'll take those as read as part of the meeting. Item 10, delegated decisions since the last meeting. A list of delegated decisions taken since the last meeting is provided in the agenda and published online. Item 11, so we'll get to a report. The Thurrock Place proposition. Councillor Lee Watson, would you like to present the item?
Thank you, and thank you, Leader. So this proposition has already been to place over and scrutiny, and any of the suggestions that were made on that has already been put into the new place proposition that we've all got copies of. So basically, as Thurrock moves closer to LGR and is becoming part of the large unitary authority, it's critical for us to identify and the aspirations of those that live and work here and clearly articulate that they are not lost in transit. Furthermore, it is important that as the authority currently responsible for the area and as a representation of those who know the best place, we are the ones leading the way in articulating a vision for Thurrock, and that we do not wait to be asked to do so. The place proposition is an ambitious proposal for the future mayoral strategic authority and all the new unitary authorities that will come forward. It sets out Thurrock's key opportunities and challenges. It's maintaining focus on outcome and evidence, but also setting a bold vision for the place. The proposition builds on numerous adoption council plans and strategies, as well as those of partners beyond the time horizons of existing proposals and setting out opportunities over the next generation. Central to the place proposition are 5 core practices. That's leveraging Thurrock's location, valuing Thurrock's industrial heritage, supporting Thurrock's diverse business base and creating affordable and accessible communities and delivering transport. It is not a strategy or it's not a delivery plan. It is a proposition of a proposal that we could achieve in Thurrock in years to come. It is intended to set a level of ambition and to invite conversations. The interventions included within the proposition are necessarily complex, multifaceted, and will require the resources of a range of agencies and actors. Not everything is within the gift of the local government. But by following through on the principles and working alongside partners, a new unitary authority will have the opportunity to deliver the transformation change for residents and businesses across Thurrock. The proposition always incorporates extensive feedback from the residents already and businesses and partners, as well as the scrutiny board. And we begin further consultation with key stakeholders. I'm happy to receive any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on this report for Councillor Watson? No, thank you. Can I just say that I know that this is a piece of work that you've worked really, long and hard on getting this over the line with officers and other councillors. So I'm just pleased that, you've got this here to the meeting tonight. So thank you for all the work that you've done on this. And happy for you to go to your recommendations.
Thank you, and thanks ever so much for all of the hard work that has gone in from the staff, from Claire, all the way through to all of our teams that have worked really hard on this going forward. So the recommendation is to endorse this place proposition.
Right, we're going to move on to item 12, which is the Integrated Housing Improvement Action Plan. And Councillor Hooper is away on annual leave, so Councillor Watson has kindly agreed to deliver this item.
It's on me tonight.
Yeah, it's their night tonight. Well, no, there's 2 people tonight.
Thank you, and thank you, Cabinet. This is a detailed action plan that has been developed and underpins the Housing Solutions Improvement Programme and translates the finding of the homeless data and the deep dive into the clear deliverable and actions. Actions are now assigned to specific leads with defined milestones which have strengthened Operation GRIP, improved accountability and enabled more effective monitoring of progress. The plan is embedded within routine management activities and is being overseen through the Housing Solution Improvement Board, ensuring sustainability, focus and momentum. While there is a lot more to do, the work undertaken so far is already supporting a shift towards more active case management, stronger oversight of temporary accommodation, increased move-on activity and clear focus on prevention. The programme is structured around 8 key items, with 43 objectives running through to March 2027, and progress will continue to be monitored by Place ONS. These changes are help to build a more stable and preventable focus of the service that is better supported to vulnerable residents and deliver consistent outcomes. So again, thanks Tony Fletcher and your team for bringing all this together and working hard in order to get the action plan in place.
Yeah. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on the housing solutions? It's all right, we'll just move the agenda around slightly. Anybody got?
Just only to say I welcome it, and it's a really clear action plan that's got some really good milestones and obviously some gate reviews in there, so really pleased to see it. It's been a long time coming.
Okay, and for me it's about making sure that this work is picked up wider out of the housing team as well, so make sure that everybody it's cross council work, so just to make sure that going forwards that the work does get picked up.
Where's the recommendation?
The recommendations. So if we just go straight to the recommendations, they are this one here, which is,
That's the improvement.
yeah, that's it.
That's the improvement.
Housing
What's the next
solutions.
What's the next one?
She's saying it
So the recommendation set up in the report is to approve the contents of the implementation of the Housing Action Plan and approve the governance arrangements set out in Section 5 of the report, including the establishment of independent chaired Housing Improvement Board and a Housing Insurance Working Group led by the portfolio holder.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you. So the improvement plan also is the core. It's about the core of this programme is to shift the services towards a stronger preventive focus approach to ensure that residents receive earlier, more effective support to avoid homelessness whenever possible, rather than responding only once the crisis has occurred. The improvement work is not just about process of structures, it's about improving the outcome for some of our most vulnerable residents by strengthening our case management, improving consistency and ensuring support is timely, coordinated and resident-centred. Members will see that the programme is addressed by the key foundations required to achieve this change. This includes strengthening governance, improving operational processes, building workforce capacity and embedding better performance oversight that risk can be identified and addressed earlier, as we have seen in the action plan previously. A critical element of this work is to ensure strong alignment with the Council's wider transformation roadmap and emerging operation model. The improvements within housing solutions are being developed in a way that supports the Council's broader ambition for more integrated, effective and customer-focused service. This includes working more closely with a range of internal services such as social care, revenue and benefits, community safety and corporate support functions. Positive discussions are already underway, help to build stronger collaborative working arrangements and ensuring the residents' experiences a more joined up approach. Is there any questions?
Anybody got any questions on that one? No? I've got nothing on that one. Straight to the recommendations.
Thank you. For the recommendations set out in the report, the Cabinet is recommended to approve the Housing Solutions Improvement Programme.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Okay, we're moving on to item 14, where we're just about to change over to Councillor Morris-Cook, if you'd like to introduce your item.
Yes, just introducing obviously the Treasury Management Strategy. So the Treasury Management Strategy sets out the Council's approach to managing its borrowing, investments and cash flows for 26-27 financial year. It's been prepared in accordance with the SIP for Treasury Management and the Code of Practice, the Prudential Code and all other relevant statutory guidance. The strategy provides the framework within which Treasury management activity will be conducted, ensuring that all decisions are prudent, affordable, sustainable and aligned with the Council's wider financial objectives. As I have stated previously, this document is one of the most important documents of all the Council. It would highlight early on if there were to be red flags in the Council's approach and should have raised challenges long before the Council found itself, to put it bluntly, skint. The Council continues to operate within an unprecedented financial environment. The Council's intervention and best value inspection highlighted the significant financial pressures arising from historical disastrous commercial investment programme. The impairments to those investments, combined with the ongoing cost of borrowing, have created a structural financial position that far exceeds the Council's revenue capacity. For 26-27, the capitalisation direction includes an estimated 39.6 million of non-HRA debt interest and 34.6 million of minimum reserve provision, alongside a 5.8 million operational budget deficit. After adjusting for HRA charges, 63.1 million of the Treasury-related non-HR costs form most of the government's 68.9 million exceptional financial support for the year. The Council's commercial investment portfolio is now subject to a divestment strategy designed to reduce the indebtedness and lower future debt servicing costs. This Treasury management strategy outlines the implications of that programme and the borrowing requirements associated with it. While the CD enables the Council to balance its budget in year, each annual direction increases the capital financial requirement, generating further interest and further MRP pressures. This trajectory is unsustainable, and the Government has indicated that longer-term support, likely through debt relief, will be required to restore financial stability. The objectives of the Council's financial recovery and the requirements of the intervention have been carried through to the 26-27 Treasury Management Strategy. The strategy is structured around two core areas: capital expenditure, how the Council's capital expenditure plans, how the capital expenditure is financed, and the minimum revenue provision policy for unfunded capital expenditure. The prudential indicators that govern the capital activity, and the second of Treasury management. The current Treasury position and expected future cash flow requirements, the borrowing and investment strategy, Treasury indicators that are designed to limit risk and ensure sound financial management, interest rate expectations for borrowing and investing, the Council's policy on borrowing in advance of need, debt restructuring consideration, investment creditworthiness policy, and the use of the external Treasury management service providers. This report therefore provides a comprehensive framework for managing the Council's Treasury activities during a period of significant financial challenge. It provides and prioritises stability, risk reduction and compliance, while supporting the Council's divestment programme and preparing for future financial restructuring, including the anticipated local government reorganisation after 2028. As the Council is limited in its ability to invest, no longer is the question red or black. The strategy largely stays static, with little need to change. The current stewardship of the daily Treasury has enabled this authority to self-finance £238 million worth of loans, saving Treasury, CD and interest costs, known commonly as under-borrowing. Any of the reserves or monies that come into the authority from sales from assets or because the divestment programme has been utilised within the Treasury Department are used to repay the CD and made to work only under the strict guidance of Treasury investment policy in AAA rated facilities. I'm sure you're all ready for me to ask you questions on that.
It's such a great subject, Councillor.
It actually is,
I know,
to be truthful.
I know you do.
I
mate,
do enjoy it, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Morris Cook? No,
okay.
I think that suffice to say that it's a stark reminder of where we are and how deep we still are in trying to navigate our way, and that people need to remember that, you know, we're a long way to go to before this council goes into a new council, and then when we go, it's not going to be plain sailing for anybody, and so it'll require tight stewardship until that day. But before I did go to the recommendations, I know that Dawn and her team have worked extremely hard on this, you know, so I'd like to extend my thanks for getting us to this place once again. I know it's really difficult. Thank you.
Okay, so rather than me bore everyone to tears with all the recommendations, I move that the recommendations on page 116, we're happy to approve them.
Can we just approve them on block rather than Councillor Morris Cook sitting and reading them all out? Yeah, okay, thank you. We are now going to go on to item 15, which is the HR rent setting and budget for 26-27. Just making sure I don't miss Councillor Morris Cook, this is your report.
Thank you. So the 26-27 housing revenue account, known as the HRA budget, presents a balanced financial position, meeting the council's statutory requirement to set a balanced HRA before the start of the financial year. The budget reflects significant inflationary pressures, regulatory requirements and the investment needs, while maintaining affordability for tenants and ensuring the long-term sustainability of the HRA. Rents for existing tenancies will increase by 4.8%, which is CPI plus 1%, which is in line with the national rent standard. This is resulting in the average weekly rents of £117.29 for social rent homes and £195.72 for affordable rent homes. Service charges will remain frozen for 25-26. This is pending a full review, with the income from dwelling rents to forecast to increase by 2.925 million, offsetting the inflationary increases in repairs, maintenance and management costs. And we do think this is good news stories for our residents, with service charges remaining at their current level in obviously which is still very trying times for a lot of our residents. The 26-27 budget assumes operating expenditure of 67,969,000 and an income of 68,173,000, generating a £204,000 surplus. However, the operating margin and interest cover ratio remains below aspirational levels, indicating there's no borrowing headroom and a continued sensitivity to economic pressures such as the construction costs inflation and interest rates. The HRA faces substantial national policy and regulatory challenges, including AWAB's law, enhanced standards, decent home update, including the EPCC by 2030, the Building Safety Act and the National Net Zero Commitment. These pressures require significant investment in our stock condition, safety and energy efficiency. Is it possible for somebody to get me a glass of water, please? Pardon? Yeah, thanks, Delapo. A full refresh of the HRA 30-year business plan is underway and will be completed by autumn 2026. This will address the data gaps, review the financial parameters and ensure that the long-term viability of the HRA, all revenue and capital budgets are being tested through the financial model, with the key sustainable parameters including the minimum reserve level of between 5 and 10% of income, an interest cover ratio of less than more than 125% and an operating margin of more than 20%. The HRA balance continues to act as a vital revenue reserve for shocks and emergencies, with capital receipts and the major repairs reserve supporting this capital programme. The 26-27 stock investment programme increases to 18,530,000, enabling continued improvement of our council homes. Development schemes totalling 23,767,000 are planned over the next 3 years, with further schemes to be considered through the business plan. Overall, the 26-27 HRA budget provides a stable one-year position while the council undertakes its comprehensive work required to secure the long-term financial sustainability of the HRA and deliver high-quality, safe and energy-efficient homes for tenants.
Anybody got any questions on the HRA report? No, thank you. Other than to say, one, it's really welcome that the service charges have been frozen for the year. The people that live in the flats and our sheltered accommodation, I'm sure, will be really appreciating, that they haven't got a rise in their service charges this year. And I'm also pleased to see that we're really invested in our stock.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
And that we'll be investing in the stock condition as well, and after the reviews that we've had done, I think it's a really good piece of work, and that we've recognised that we do need to continue to invest in the stock even while the time that the overall review will continue to take place. But I think it's really important that we recognise the work that's gone into this report tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, there has been a lot of hard work by the team,
Absolutely,
and
there
they are
is,
actually
yeah.
actively starting the stock condition reports, which is actively happening out in the community as we
I
speak.
know that lots of residents have contacted to say that they've had their letters,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I know that those inspections have started. So it would be welcome, you know, to start that work and make sure that it continues to happen.
It's really quite helpful because, as well as checking who is actually living in the property, to making sure have they got any little niggles, is there anything that they need, is everything working as it should. So it's a real sense check, and sometimes a lot of people don't actually like recording things and reporting things, so it's actually, especially the older generation, so it's actually a really good thing going round and doing these one-to-ones with people.
It's really good. Yeah, I welcome it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move the recommendations on page 138 to 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 2.4.
Agreed. Okay. And then we are going to stay with Councillor Morris Cook for... Yeah, we've got quite a few yet, yeah. For the final capital programme 2026-27 to 28-29. Would you like to introduce your report?
So this is the report on the capital strategy and capital programme 26, 27, 28, 29. The capital strategy sets the framework for ensuring all capital investment is aligned with the council's priorities and is affordable, prudent and sustainable. It strengthens governance, introduces clearer decision-making processes and ensures that capital resources are directed to the statutory, safety-critical and high priority schemes. The Council is required under the Prudential Code to approve both the capital strategy and the programme. A full refresh of this programme has been undertaken, overseen by the newly formed Capital Overview Board to rationalise schemes, reduce reliance on borrowing and ensure the programme remains deliverable within the current financial constraints. The refreshed capital programme totals 144,876,000 to 28-29. The in-year additions have been funded by external grants, have been incorporated through Q2 and Q3 monitoring cycles. Capital receipts previously assumed for investment must now be applied to debt reduction, requiring a reassessment of those funding sources. The review identified schemes for deletion and underspends that released 4.990 million of external borrowing for repurposing. After all the adjustments, a residual borrowing requirement of 3 million remains for 27-28, 28-29. Due to significant slippage that was reported at Q3, 61,780,000, approval of this borrowing is not recommended at this stage. Further review will take place following the 25-26 outturn. The Education Capital Programme, as agreed by Cabinet in December 2025, and the 3-year HRA Capital Programme, which is reported separately, are both fully incorporated. Governance arrangements are being strengthened. All new capital bids must demonstrate a robust business case, project readiness and compliance with capital rules and alignment with corporate objectives. Slippage will only be approved where fully justified, and the Capital Overview Board will continue to challenge and oversee delivery across all directorates. There are no proposals to increase borrowing to expand the programme. Capital proposals must remain affordable within the revenue budget and compliant with the Prudential Code. Despite the rationalisation undertaken, essential works remain necessary to maintain infrastructure, meet statutory duties and support the service transformation.
Questions, anybody? No, I think it's a very stark report, but again, it's a little reminder of, you know, just how difficult it's going to be here for some time to come. That, you know, this would normally be a time when we would be bringing over really good capital projects that we'll be doing in the next year, but there's simply no money, you know, and what there is really essential capital work. So thank you. But it's where we are.
And we also have to be extremely mindful that in 2 years this authority will not exist. So we need to make sure that we have absolutely the house in order. The recommendations are on page 180, 3.1.
Thank you. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. Moving on to your next report, which is item 17, final revenue budget 26-27, final medium-term financial strategy 26-27 to 28-29.
So before I start, it would be very wrong of me, before I do this final revenue budget, not to pay tribute to the finance team. Dawn and her team have done an amazing job in the stewardship of the finances and hold the reins very, very tightly. And anyone that tries to get money out of Dawn knows only too well it really doesn't come easily. They have been extremely supportive to me while I've had this portfolio, and it's been my pleasure. So I'm now going to deliver the final.
Off you go.
Off I go. Okay, Cabinet, before we talk about this final revenue budget, we need to start from the truth, not the noise, not the spin, and certainly not the revision of some continue to rely on. Thurrock's financial crisis was created by historic debt, collapsed governance and failed leadership. This administration inherited that mess. And for the past 2 years, we have done the hard, disciplined work that others avoided to pull this council back from the brink. We've answered every audit query, we've stabilised the accounts, and we have rebuilt governance from the ground up. We have delivered the overwhelming majority of required savings. We've paid down debt faster than expected, reduced Treasury costs, and secured an agreement in principle with the Chancellor on future debt support. And we have done all this while protecting services and refusing to impose the 10% council tax that others argued for. Instead, council tax will rise by 2.99% plus the 2% precept for adult social care. Responsible, proportionate and grounded in reality. This budget is not just balanced, it's credible, responsible and rooted in delivery. It reflects where Thurrock actually is, the progress we have made and the determination of this administration to finish the job of recovery. Let's be absolutely clear. Thurrock's financial position remains extraordinarily difficult and will remain so for several years. That's the legacy we're dealing with. And because of that legacy, this council must continue to rely on exceptional financial support from government simply to meet its legal duty to set a balanced budget. That support through capitalisation direction is not optional. It's the unavoidable consequence of past failure. But here is what cannot be ignored. Despite the scale of the crisis we inherited, this administration has driven down the projected capitalisation direction requirement from 691 million to 638 million. That is progress, delivered through discipline, not denial. This final budget for 26-27 sets a revenue requirement of 267,291,000 against core funding of 198,383,000. The council requires an indicative CD of 68,908,000. That is reality, not the fantasy figures some would prefer to circulate. Our debt remains severe. 846 million of external debt by March 26, rising to a capital financing requirement of 1.139 billion by 28-29. These numbers are uncomfortable, but they're honest, and honesty is something this chamber has not always afforded. Despite this, we have identified 13,938,000 of savings for 26-27, exceeding the target, and 94% of the 25-26 savings are delivered or on track. Quarter 3 shows a 23,124 underspend after the exceptional financial support. That is delivery, not denial, not distraction and not delay. On members' allowances, the full review is not due until 2027. The rejection of the indexing allowances to staff pay remains in place. That is the responsible position. On the pay policy, the Council is required to publish an annual statement. There are no significant changes. The National Agreed Pay Awards and the senior pay structure implemented in April 2024 means we no longer require locally determined cost of living increases. 141 residents responded to the budget consultation, which was promoted for 6 weeks across social media, the website and the weekly bulletin, which reaches over 85,000 households. Residents made it clear local services matter. Over half understood why savings are necessary. 63% didn't support a council tax rise. One suggestion stood out: cross-training staff to handle minor electrical repairs rather than relying on contractors. We are actively exploring that. Scrutiny has done its job again, robustly challenging and calling in portfolio holders where needed. That is how good governance works. Yes, the financial position remains critical, but unlike previous administrations, we're not running from that reality. We confront it head on. This budget tackles the structural issues behind those underspends and sets a credible path forward. We have built our MTFS on fair funding 2.0, the inflation, service pressures and economic reality, not wishful thinking. And we are preparing for the transition to a new unitary authority under LGR. This is the truth of where Thurrock stands. It's challenging, it's uncomfortable, and it's the direct result of failures we did not create. But this administration did what others would not. We faced the numbers, fixed the problems, and put Thurrock back on the path to stability.
Any questions? No. I'll say, Councillor Watson.
So I've got to say, Val, that, Councillor Moyes, when we came in, the level of debt is huge. It is still huge. And I remember sitting in a member's induction saying that we are on life support system. And to be honest, I think now we're on the high dependency ward. Yeah, so we've done it. We've done extremely well. You've halved the debt. Under you and the team, thanks, Dawn. But there is a long way to go, and some very, very, very hard decisions that are going to come through and that need to be made, as well as all the negotiations around the LGR and how that will work going forward with other people's budgets, whatever model we're in. So, but on that, so thanks ever so much for being honest, really, because we're very far and few between on honest, and people think we're not, but we are. So, thank you.
Thanks. I'm not going to make any comments because I should be speaking to this at council next week, so I won't make any comments here tonight other than to say, as well as the officers, I'd like to say thank you to you, Val, because I know that, most days you're in here, with officers, up with the finance team. It is a full-time job to have this portfolio, so I'd just like to say thank you for getting us here, because to get us to a stage where we've had to have many a meeting to decide which should be the savings that we put forward this year, and then to work with an overview and scrutiny and all of the extra meetings that we've had with overview and scrutiny to get to something that we believe that the council can agree next week is no mean feat, but we've worked, we've done what we needed to do, and we've been able to make these savings without closing care homes, which has happened in other councils. We've not closed libraries here. We're a council in intervention, making really, really big decisions, making big savings, needing £68 million just to balance the books. but we've not had to cut and close any of our things that our residents hold dear. So, and that goes down to, you know, you having a really watchful eye on everything and, you know, making sure that the spend's
Dawn would
there.
never let me
And
anyway.
Dawn would know. And I know Dawn, I mean, she works above and beyond. She's an absolute star. So, yeah, and your team as well. I know that you don't do it yourself. I know that David works really, really well with you, and we welcome him into the council. But you know, but I want to say thank you for the amount of times that, you know, you come and you'll pick the phone up and just check that everybody's all right and that everybody understands the finances within their part of their portfolios. So yeah, so I'll speak on to the report next week. So I won't pick any bits out other than to say thanks for getting us to where we are. And that we are on the naughty list of the government, but we're sort of gone up a couple of steps.
Yeah, but you say that. Thank you. That's very kind words. You say we're on the naughty step, but actually, it's only because we have absolutely kept to our word on everything with the the divestments, with our assets, how we've managed, you know, to actually realise some of those assets, keeping our word on how much we were going to save, what we were going to do, that we actually have a seat at the table to talk to the government about some support that is coming. You know, and we do need to make it clear that it is not going to be the whole of our debt, not in a million years. But, you know, hopefully, because we've kept diligently working hard and really, you know, as I say, under Dawn, I know she's from Yorkshire, but she really does have tight reins, that we are allowed to do and to have that seat at the table. I think my concern for going into LGR is I don't think other councils have forensically understood their finances. I think we are totally aware of every single pound or even 50p is, and we know exactly where we are at any one time. I am very concerned about, you know, obviously the next 2 years, there's going to be an incredible amount of work to understand and make sure that when we enter with someone, we are entering with our eyes wide open and that we are not walking into a horror show. So page 234, so it's 2.1 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R.
Agreed.
We would have been here another hour reading that otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to item 18, where we do have a question from Councillor Rigby, but shall I get Councillor Morris Cook to introduce the report and then we'll come to you for questions? Is that all right? Thank you.
Councillor Rigby, did you want to ask your question?
Do your report first.
Oh, do yes, okay. No, I really wasn't. Sorry. Okay, so this is the summary of the Q3 outturn. So the overall position, the council's finances are still in a very serious condition. It cannot fund its day-to-day services without special government support called exceptional financial support. For this year, the council now expects to have 72,128,000 of this support. By March 2026, the total support needed since 2022-23 will be over 450 million. So the report covers general funding, savings, reserves, the HRA, capital projects, schools funding, assets and treasury. The budget for 25-26, the council has set a budget of 240,656,000, which includes 176,374,000 for running services, 64,282,000 for treasury costs, that's borrowing and interest. To balance the budget legally, the council needs 72,128,000 of government support. So we are forecasting currently an underspend of 23,156,000. The council expects to spend less than budgeted this year, and this comes from 496,000 underspend in some service areas, 9.42 million underspend in corporate and technical budgets, 10 million underspend in treasury costs, and we got an extra 2.857 million in a grant that came into the environment team. Even though that looks positive, the council still needs to use most of this underspend to reduce the amount the government supports. The use of the underspend, we are looking to reduce the capitalisation direction, determine the amount of additional reserves for the following: the transformation programme that the savings for the following year depend upon, LGR and Treasury. We have overspend in three main areas: children's, corporate and finance. The Transformation Infrastructure Fund, we expect to use 2.218 million this year, leaving 10 million still in the fund. The savings programme, as we have said, over 94% has been delivered, which is really good to hear. We have had the contingency, we've set aside 5 million for unexpected costs. At Q3, we did expect to use 2.2 million, which is leaving 3 million still unused. The reserves at the start of the year, we had a total reserves of 80,497,000. Of that, 69 million is actually ring-fenced. 11 million of the general reserves, and the net forecast drawdown from reserves is 11.455. We have already discussed the HRA, and if we look at the dedicated schools grant, they are forecasting an overspend of 6.764 million. The government has announced funds to actually fund 90% of the deficit. We're waiting to hear more details, but that still leaves 676,000, which is currently not budgeted for. The capital programme I have just gone through, as I have with the HRA. We've spoken about the council tax and business rates. The asset disposal programme, the target over 5 years was 104 million, and we are on track to deliver those budgeted figures, thanks to the hard work of Catherine and her team. The divestment programme, most of the investments have already been sold, and the target for this year was 6.175 million. The forecast is actually 36,173,000, mainly because a wind farm sale was delayed from last year. Treasury costs, the forecast spending is 54 million, and it's a 10 million under budget. And this mainly comes from the fact of the hard work of our Treasury Department under Richard Dunlop and his team, where they're utilising the reserves to fund some of the borrowing, which does save on interest and Treasury costs. And when you think that it culminated in over 10 million, that's really hard work and well done. The exceptional financial support, the Q3 forecast, helps to estimate how much the government is going to need to help us over the next term, and the final figure will be confirmed at year end.
Exciting stuff. Who's got questions for that? No? Okay.
Councillor Rigby.
Councillor, no, okay, I'm coming straight to you. Okay.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Morris-Cook. So under Appendix 2, AHS09, the review for fees for daycare services, Collins House, and charging of administration fees. The charges are invoiced, but the savings might not be realised. Why is this?
Okay. So I'll just make it very clear at the beginning that I'm not an encyclopedia on the minutiae of the detail behind social services. And obviously, Councillor Hooper is on holiday, so I will do my best. What I would say is, if there is anything else, my suggestion is that Councillor Hooper is back next week. If you email, or obviously Rob Percy, I'm sure will be happy to support that if you're happy to do that. So, increased fees have been implemented during the year for certain fees, meaning that the full savings total will not be delivered 25-26. This is due to giving individuals sufficient notice of the change, getting systems updated accordingly, and the relevant testing periods, approvals, and additional financial assessments required. All fee increases are now in place. Whilst the saving will be partially realised for 25-26, adult social care at this point in the year are on track to deliver its overall savings target. And they've said that some service users may be within protected or phased arrangements, meaning that the full revised fee structure may not have taken effect for every individual, and that fees are dependent on individual financial assessments. Changes in assessed contributions, for example, due to changing personal circumstances, may create some variance from the forecasted income.
Are you happy with that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll email my follow-up question to Councillor Hooper. Thank you.
Thank
But
you. We
for that
appreciate that
response.
tonight. How
Thank you.
dare we go on holiday, eh? How dare we go on holiday? Thank you. Bauer, would you like to do your recommendations? Unless anybody's got any questions on that one. No, thank you.
Yes, the recommendations are on page 341, and it's 2.1, 2.2. Agreed?
We agree. Thank you. And then item 19 is the Grays Towns Fund, Grays Riverfront Public Realm and Flood Defence Design and Build Contract Award and External Funding. Can we just please note that the next three reports have exempt appendices, so I remind Cabinet members should not discuss their contents. I think that we discussed them at length in a closed meeting before this as well. If anyone does wish to discuss them any further, will they please consider taking a vote, and we will have to go into an exempt session and ask those that shouldn't be in the room to leave. So are we happy to proceed and not to discuss any further? Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Thank you. Grays Town Fund and the Riverfront Public Realm. So the council was successful in receiving 19.9 million from MHCLG Towns Fund to regenerate Grays Riverside. A key element of the programme is the regeneration of the Riverside Public Realm to improve the environment for the residents. This has also gone out to consultation previously to all our residents, so they're well aware. The project included the front defence in line with the Environmental Agency guidance. The council has carried out a procurement exercise to appoint a contractor on two-stage design and build contract. This report seeks the approval to appoint the contract to the stage one of the contract. In this stage, the contractor will carry out the technical design and identify value engineering opportunities to bring the project within budget if need be. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Providing that we've had the conversations
Yes,
on
exactly.
that. Okay, thank you. So if you'd just like to go to the recommendations.
Thank you. So it's on 2.1, design and build, to approve the submission to the bid for the Sports of England, and also to delegate the authority to the Director of Place in consultation with Section 151 officer.
All agreed? Okay, thank you. We're moving on to item 20, which is the procurement of the Autism Support Programme for young people aged 18 to 25. Again, we've got a question from Councillor Rigby on that, and I'm pleased to say that your Cabinet members in the room, so you'll be able to have your supplementary for that. So, Councillor Hartstein, would you like to introduce your report?
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet is asked to approve the reprocurement of the Autism Support Programme for 18 to 25-year-olds beginning the 1st of September 2026, delivered through a 4-year contract with an optional 2-year extension. The refreshed programme responds to rising needs, statutory duties and the need to improve long-term outcomes for young autistic adults. So just looking to why change is needed. Autism diagnosis in Thurrock have risen 59% since 2020, driving higher demand for specialist support. The current programme has run for 9 years, but faces issues such as staffing shortages and inflexible 24-month durations, limiting access and impact. Updating the programme is essential to meet statutory duties under the Children and Families Act 2014, the Care Act 2014, the Autism Act 2009 and the SEND Code of Practice. So what the new programme is looking to deliver, it is going to deliver flexible support options, so moving away from the 24 months to 12, 18 or 24 months tailored to individual needs. It will focus on independent living skills, communication, well-being, travel training, volunteering and employment readiness. It will be in delivery in community settings with autism-aware staff, and there will be strong coordination between Special Educational Needs Service, Adult Social Care, the ICB, families, treetops, and then the provider via a multi-agency referral panel. Regular monitoring through baseline assessments, monthly progress updates, KPIs and annual reviews. Just turning then to look at the impact and the benefits, evidence from the current service shows significant life-changing outcomes, and they are evidenced on page 444 on 5.4, including an improvement in functional skills and young people's speech and language skills. These gains support a reduction on long-term adult social care dependency by enabling greater independence. And then looking to cost avoidance, the cost avoidance is substantial. Avoiding a 10-hour weekly care package for adult social care delivers a 2.16 return, and avoiding residential care delivers a 17.7 times return on the programme cost. Looking at the financial and the risk overview, it's jointly funded between, which is 73% adult social care and 27% children's services. We've gone out to market testing and we've indicated that there's strong provider interest, and then making sure that we've got earlier referrals will support providers to recruit the specialist staff that's needed. In terms of a consultation, young people, parents, local special educational needs groups, the Thurrock Coalition and the ICB have shaped the new model. Stakeholders strongly support greater flexibility and continued delivery in both community and home settings. A full equality impact assessment will be completed before award. And just say this programme is crucial for meeting the rising need, fulfilling our statutory duties, improving life outcomes for young people with autism, and reducing long-term social care demand. And just before I go to questions, I just wanted to respond to the Commissioner's comments, because there was a couple of comments in there in terms of the Commissioner's comments. I just wanted to say that we absolutely recognise the two core points. First, the growing demand for special educational needs support and the associated pressures we've covered this evening on the DSG high needs block and the Council's budgets. And second, the need for a sharpened assurance framework around outcomes, equality impact and sustainable funding before award. We've taken these on board and we will act accordingly. In terms of 3.1 on page 442, which is the pressures and value for money, as we've said, demand is rising, driven by a 59% increase in autism diagnosis since 2020, and we must respond in a way that protects outcomes and delivers best value. That is precisely why the new model introduces flexible programme durations, 12, 18 or 24 months, so that we only commission the support each young person actually needs, and why we will competitively tender to secure the best price and quality from the market. The redesigned programme is a prevention and independence model with proven impact on functional skills and communication, which in turn reduces long-term reliance on adult social care, securing significant cost avoidance. This directly addresses the budget pressures highlighted in 3.1. In terms of assurance improvements on 3.2, these will be implemented in full with clear owners and timelines. In terms of the first point, a formal assessment of the previous programme's effectiveness, I looked into that, and a full in-depth evaluation of the current 9-year programme has already taken place. And I have discussed this with the senior officers already. The lengthy report was not included in the papers, but it is available should the Commissioners require it. The results were taken into consideration and the outcomes built into the new programme. In terms of benefits realisation, cashable and non-cashable, there will be an evaluation framework in the new contract, establishing individual baselines, including likely future support needs, tracking progress through monthly reports and quarterly KPIs, and conducting annual reviews. There will also be a post-programme methodology implemented comparing, I'll say that word one day, comparing actual support costs with a do-nothing baseline to quantify both cashable and non-cashable benefits. And in terms of the full equality impact assessment, a full assessment will be undertaken prior to the award using insights from our co-production with young people, Parents Carers, Thurrock Coalition, SEND Parent Carer Forum and the ICB. The specification will require the provider to work with culturally responsive partners to increase participation amongst underrepresented groups. And just in terms of the last point around stable funding source, as mentioned, the funding will be split between 73% adult social care and 27% children's services taken from the DSG. And this is within the budget setting for 26-27 onwards, with adult social care and the DSG management plans reflecting the projected cohort growth. Panel-based referrals ensure no automatic block purchase of places, protecting affordability. Thank you.
Thank you for your very in-depth intro to your report. Councillor Rigby.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you to Councillor Hartstein. The recent Adults and Health informal meeting held with parents of autistic and neurodiverse children and adults with lived experience highlighted that although they'd been engaged with, they didn't feel truly listened to. This procurement is for young people with high needs autism, but going back from the workshop, how will you measure from your reviews to date and from the formal assessment ahead that the feedback from young people, family and their carers will be truly integrated into the future provision guidelines?
Thank you, Councillor Rigby. Obviously, I was at that informal meeting with you, so I heard loud and clear the concerns that were raised by the parents and carers and the young people themselves. The Council is currently undertaking a wide review of services for children and adults with autism and neurodiversity. This commissioning exercise has linked in with that work, and children's commissioners have also conducted their own joint work with parents and carers to co-produce this new service. Prior to development of the service specification, a group of parents who had experience of this service were interviewed to provide feedback on the initial needs analysis. Following this and the development of the service specification, the Thurrock Coalition and the SEND Family Forum were invited to comment on sections of the draft service specification, and these comments were considered when refining the specification prior to its final version. We have also agreed that a small number of parents will be scoring one part of the tender submissions once they've been received, and this will involve providers recording a video on how they will deliver services. Moving forward, we have embedded feedback from parents and young people into our contract monitoring process, and that is evidenced on page 443, section 5.2. It is also an ambition for there to be a small number of parents who attend the contract monitoring meetings alongside the provider. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary question?
I do, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
if you'd like to ask it.
thank you for your response on that. My other question is around costs. So one of the main reasons for doing this is as a cost-saving exercise. Given that is the case and that we've got an increase and a continuing increase in demand, is there reassurance that the correct care will be given even if it is turned out to be more expensive? Thank you.
Councillor Hartstein.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your follow-up there. Yes, absolutely. As we say, these will be done through the sorry, I have to change my glasses. The referrals will be done through a panel. So each piece of commissioned work will be done through a bespoke package for each young person. And for example, whereas, as I say, historically at the moment it's a 24-month, every young person has to have a 24-month package, we might find that young people only need a 12-month contract. So there will be a cost saving built into that there. And the process will be very closely monitored through the annual reviews of EHCPs, for example, as well as monitoring the individual programmes that the young people are on. But yes, I feel very confident, absolutely, that there will be a cost saving, but no young person will miss out on the specific care that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions on this service? No, it was really interesting though to hear it presented, you know, and in our pre-cabinet meeting as well. It was yeah, it's a high needs service that is expensive, but absolutely we need to make sure that we provide these necessary services and make sure that nobody's excluded here in Thurrock. So
And I just wanted to come back actually on that,
Yeah,
Linda.
okay.
Thank you. I was just going to say that
Equalities.
it's obviously it's a statutory duty that we have, and obviously, you know, us under the Equality Act, that we have a duty as well to meet these young people's needs.
Absolutely.
And you know, every young person, regardless of their vulnerabilities, deserves the very best. You know, to be able to achieve what they can in life. Absolutely. So I'm very passionate about this.
could I just ask one question, and that is about numbers and increasing numbers. Is that numbers are increasing, or that we are just better at finding these young people now and making sure that the support's in place?
I would say it's probably a combination of both, to be honest. Obviously, for example, young people with special educational needs, there is an increase in diagnosis of an increase in need, but obviously we've got to think of things such as young people who are children premature birth, that are surviving longer, which is why, surviving earlier that may not have survived historically, which is why there is more young people coming through with special educational needs. We know what to look for as parents. We're much more aware of what to look out for, and obviously we've got much better at diagnosing, but obviously it's not all around a diagnosis. There is a duty to meet need regardless of a diagnosis.
No, absolutely welcome, and I think that it's really important that we do make sure that we deliver on our statutory duties. So if you'd like to go to the recommendations, if no one's got any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So the recommendations, back to changing the glasses. So, for the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to 2.1, approve the procurement of a 4-year contract with the option to extend for up to 2 years for an autism support programme for young people aged 18 to 25, commencing on the 1st of September 2026. Thank you. And 2.2, approve delegated authority to award the contract following completion of the tender evaluation to the following: Executive Director, Adults and Health, and the Executive Director, Children's Services, in consultation with the Section 151 Officer, Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Education and Community Safety, and the Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing and Social Housing.
We all agree? Okay, thank you for that. And then we're going to go back on item 21, which is back to Councillor Morris Cook to introduce the item social care software as a service procurement report. Yes. Okay, thank you.
So approval is sought to direct award a 4-year software as a service known as SaaS contract to Liquid Logic Limited, the incumbent provider of the Council's social care case management system. The contract will commence no later than the 1st of April 2026 and will be procured via the Crown Commercial Services Vertical Application Solutions Framework in full compliance with the Public Contracts Regulations 2015 and the Council's contract procurement rules. As part of the Council's digital strategy, a new education case management system is currently being implemented. This system shares significant function overlap with the existing social care platform, which offers opportunities for integration, shared data access, and improved cross-service collaboration. Consolidating both systems under a single provider supports the Council's strategic aim of achieving a unified, holistic view of individuals and households. To maintain operational continuity, a 4-year agreement with the incumbent supplier is proposed. This period will allow the Council to undertake the complex work required to align and integrate the education and social care systems. A full competitive procurement for a combined solution will be undertaken at the end of the 4-year term. The framework permits a direct awards under specific conditions, which include continuity of service and where the supplier's solution demonstrates meets requirements without further competition. And this proposed direct award meets both criteria. Consolidating these services under one provider enhance effectiveness and efficiency by reducing duplication and integration costs and the system complexity. While cashable savings may be limited, best value is achieved through delivering a more coherent, future-proof solution aligned to the Council's strategic needs. This approach positions the councils to undertake a full competitive procurement for the Unified Social Care and Education SAS solution in 2030. Under the current contract timelines, this is expected to take place with the newly formed Unitary Council following LGR after 2028. Once the government confirms its decision, the council will be able to engage with the Essex County Council, also responsible for social care and education, to plan a coordinated strategic approach.
Does anybody have any questions on that one? No? Okay. Straight to the recommendations for you then,
Okay,
Councillor.
I'm being lazy, so 4, 5, 6, recommendations 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3.
Do we all agree?
Agreed.
Thank you, and thank you everyone. That concludes the business of the meeting this evening, and I now declare the meeting closed at 8:07.
Yep.
Yep.